Welcome to Just Love Live. I am your host for today, Beatriz Diaz Taveras. I am the Executive Director for Catholic Charities Community Services. Thank you for tuning in to our monthly show where we will discuss major issues facing everyday New Yorkers, from housing and food insecurity to eviction prevention and workforce development. We will also look at how Catholic Charities of New York and the greater human service community is responding to these needs and providing help to the most vulnerable among us. In the month of July, we celebrate this country's freedom and patriotism, and we honor the generations of people from all walks of lives and countries from around the world that have built, served, and made the United States their home. Our first segment will focus on the process of how to become a citizen of the United States. What are the requirements, how long it takes, and what programs are available to assist applicants. Appropriately, our second segment will focus on the services of Catholic Charities Community Services Day Laborers Program and how they give back to the community, especially in times of crisis, and help the economy of the neighborhoods they live in.
The board supported NYC Center staff in finding ways.
Our first guest is Sebastian Perez, a housing attorney for the Legal Aid Society who represents tenants association throughout the borough of Manhattan on various types of cases. Separately, though, he serves on the board of CREA, a non-profit organization that offers individualized levels of education to support the Latinx adults in New York City. And joining Sebastian is Bridget Splain, the co-director of the Immigration and Asylum Seeker Program at NYC Center, a community-based nonprofit in the South Bronx. Her programs help immigrants with a variety of applications, including asylum, employment authorization, temporary protected status, citizenship, DACA, and more. Please welcome Sebastian Perez and Bridget Splain. Thank you so much for being on our show today.
Thank you.
Sebastian, we know you're an attorney with Legal Aid Society, but I really want to talk about CREA. Tell us a little bit about CREA and your work with them.
So CREA is an organization that's based out of East Harlem. It was originally founded to meet the educational needs of the immigration population. Its executive director is affectionately known as Lupita, and I began to get involved with them actually through a mutual acquaintance. He had let me know that the board at that time was looking to expand and add an additional member. I was always looking to get involved back in the community once again. I had worked in the community for years, but when our office moved over to its new location, I thought this was a great chance.
Good. And you have a special course that you teach, so tell me about that course.
So this is a course, it was the first time I'm teaching it. The semester just ended a couple weeks ago, and it focuses around the path to citizenship through naturalization. It focuses on the two parts of it, the interview part and the civics test part of it.
Mm-hmm. So what's the most difficult about the civics test?
So the civics test has 100 total questions that they could possibly ask you. Of those 100, the USCIS officer will be asking you 10. And of those 10, you need to answer 6 correctly. As far as what's the hardest, it's hard to say. These are questions that go from what wars were fought during the 1800s, 1900s, all the way to who's today's president.
Very appropriate since we just had the presidential debates last night. But looking at do you find that some of your participants, their English is maybe not there? Do they need additional English language? What else can you tell us about the participants of CREA?
That's a great question, actually, because I would even start with some of our students coming from our home Latino countries don't speak Spanish as their first language. They actually speak a native tongue. So one thing that CREA offers is getting folks to learn Spanish. As you mentioned, they also teach English. It's a spectrum of learning foundational English all the way to the GED part of it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good. On average, how long is the process to become a citizenship? From the time you submit your application to the swearing in?
So that really depends on a couple different factors. We can use New York as an example since that's where we are now. According to the USCIS website, applications that are submitted from New York are taking on average about 7.5 months to process. That means that the majority of applications could take that long. However, that also means that there's a minority of applications that will take longer, so it won't be uncommon for your application to take up to a year. For more information on that, you can log on to the USCIS website and look at the processing time for your home state.
I know there's also a fee. What is the fee right now to apply for citizenship?
So there is a fee. I'm not quite sure what the fee is offhand.
It was, I only know it in Spanish, it was $7.25, but it recently went up. They've also added an additional possibility of a reduced fee. So there's the possibility of a fee waiver depending on certain circumstances. If you receive a means-tested benefit, if you have extreme hardship, which could include a serious health issue that took all of your resources, or if your income is at or below 150% of the federal poverty, and you would use your taxes to show that, or your W-2s.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to just segue into Bridget. So Bridget, I know you're working at Mercy Center. Tell us a little bit about Mercy Center and its programs.
So Mercy Center is a community center in the South Bronx. We've been there for decades, and we try to meet the needs of our community, and those needs change, and so our programs change. I'm the co-director of our immigration and asylum seeker program, so my work focuses on the legal side of things. We also have our largest program is our English language learning program. We also have a family development program, which is intensive case management. We work with families on goal setting over a number of years. We have an after-school program. During COVID, we mobilized and a lot of wonderful donors to provide food for our participants and link with restaurants such as Tacombi to provide food to our individuals who weren't eligible for state and federal assistance at that time. Our legal program, which I'm the co-director of, we focus on citizenship, asylum, DACA, TPS. We assist with fee waivers. Recently, right now, as you can imagine, we're seeing a tremendous number of asylum seekers. So we have case managers who meet with our applicants to get them set up with any benefits for which they may be eligible, emergency Medicaid, Metro cards, and we try to help give them an orientation of the asylum process. One thing I love about the organization is that it is, I call it, it's a home away from home for me. We really try to connect our participants with one another. I have one participant who has a church he absolutely loves. And he said, give my number out to anyone. And so we do that. And he will call me and he'll say, hey, I'm with this guy who they have never met before. They're from different countries and they'll meet and go to church together. He got them set up with a free OSHA training. So we're trying to help individuals find a home here. They're fleeing frightening circumstances. So we try to just make the quality of life as good as possible for them.
Do you have any testimonial services, testimonies of any of your clients, either Sebastian or Bridget, that you would like to share?
I called someone yesterday and his employment authorization had arrived. Actually, no, it was just the receipt that had arrived. And he said, "Ay, Bridget, that's the best news I've gotten since I arrived in the country." He was eager to do everything correctly. He said, "I haven't been working because I don't want to work without legally working, without having legal authorization, rather. So it's nice for people to feel that we remember them and that they're heard and that they're seen and that they're making progress and that all that they have endured to get here is paying off.
Sebastian, do you?
I do have one story I can think of. So from the last group I was teaching, there was one person that towards the end of the semester finally got an interview date. It's coming up July 15th, so fingers crossed. I know she'll do well. But the really interesting part was seeing her development throughout the semester. And to be able to just to be a part of that was wonderful.
Oh, great. So tell me, how can our viewers access the services at CREA? What is the website and any other information you can provide?
So CREA's website is creany.org. You can certainly go on there, learn more about the organization and the wonderful work that's being done there. And I highly encourage people to do so. Like any other community-based organization, something that they all face in need is the financial assistance. So if folks are able to go to the website and they feel as passionately about the organization as I do, that would be a great way to assist.
Mm-hmm. And
at the Mercy Center, we have ongoing registration for our immigration legal assistance. Our next cycle of English language classes will be registering in September, so we're encouraging interested students to call towards the end of August to find the exact registration dates and times. Our phone number is 718-993-2789. And you can learn more about all of our programs and download our program flyer at mercycenterbronx.org. And we're eager to meet as many students and applicants as possible. It's been wonderful to see the community at Mercy Center change. Previously, it was pretty much exclusively Spanish speakers. And now we're seeing more African individuals join our community, which has been really great for our English language learners because they're forced to speak to one another in class and they've become friends. And it's really just wonderful to witness.
That's interesting because then they have to speak to each other in English.
It's terrific.
They're no longer speaking, because sometimes I know it's like you're trying to teach them English, but they'll all resort to their native tongue.
Exactly.
But when you have different people from different countries, they're like, well, if we need to communicate.
And we're big about celebrating at Mercy Center, and we're big on food. So our participants are always making their dishes. It's really heartwarming to see with such limited resources, they are making food from their countries for celebrations at the end of semesters and sharing it with people from all over the world. It's really, really terrific.
So I want to thank you, Sebastian and Bridget, for such an informative conversation. For our viewers, don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Since 2009, Catholic Charities has been helping men and women who are newcomers to New York earn a living and become part of their communities. Please welcome Lucia Goyen, Director of the Day Laborers Program of Catholic Charities Community Services, and Juan Pablo Morales Estrada, the Bronx Outreach and Organizing Supervisor for our Day Laborers Program, and a U.S. citizen. So thank you so much. Lucia, tell us a little bit about the Day Laborers Program.
Sure. So we have two sites, one in Yonkers and one in the Bronx. And the one in Yonkers has been around since 2009. The one in the Bronx opened up in 2016. So generally when I tell people about the day labor program, I like to ask if they know what day laborers mean. And so generally those are people you see waiting at Home Depot, at the street corners, waiting for daily work. Often they're immigrants, and a majority of them are undocumented, either waiting for some sort of work authorization or unfortunately may never be able to access work authorization due to the immigration laws. So we try to serve them as best we can, and not just them, their entire families. So in the ways we do that are various trainings, mostly trades, OSHA, if you've heard the word OSHA, or site safety trainings, so they could protect themselves on construction sites and be able to work a day and not be worried about being injured or, falling to their death, or some terrible tragedies that have happened on many construction sites, as well as other trades such as electricity, carpentry. We've also offered English classes through the International Center, technology classes through partners, as well as different training such as nanny training. So really trying to serve the whole community. We also offer protection, worker rights protection, so explaining how to protect themselves when they get picked up for work, such as writing down their hours, who's picking them up, etc., trying to prevent wage thefts, because this is a vulnerable community. Many of them do fall prey to that, and a lot of people try to not pay them at all or only pay them for part of their day's work. So if that does occur, we assist them in filing applications, for instance, with the Department of Labor, or complaints through small claims, and helping them try to recover some of those stolen wages. And then the other big piece is trying to connect them to employment, of course. So contracted work, others looking for daily assistance in their homes or on construction sites, so that they are able to create some stability in their income as much as possible. So that's generally what we do at both of the sites, and we're very proud of the work that we have walking alongside of this vulnerable community.
Approximately how many day laborers' lives do you touch?
So it's a long list. We go regularly to both paradas, or the stops, in both locations. In the Bronx, we serve over 6 paradas that we go to regularly. In Yonkers, 3 or 4. And these can be anywhere from like 80 to 100 people waiting for work, depending on the time of day and the season. It's very seasonal. So in the winter, obviously, we see a lot more waiting for work than in the summer and spring. So generally, in terms of serving unique individuals, is probably over 2,000 to 3,000. Many of them recently are newer arrivals as well, trying to assist a lot of asylum seekers who are still waiting if they have access to a work permit, or may not be able to apply for asylum or other forms of relief.
So I do know that, as you mentioned, you've worked in wage theft. What's been one of your more recent victories in that area?
Oh, I would love to talk about that. So one huge victory that's been many, many years, and with various partners in Westchester, there was a contractor who was really defrauding across the Westchester County. And so 2 of our workers fell victim and were stolen wages. And we just recently, we were working with the district attorney in Westchester. And recently, as of 2 months ago, he actually pleaded guilty to criminal charges of wage theft. And we are working to get these 2 workers something called deferred action, because they were victims of this labor violation. And so hopefully that will be another great victory we could talk about in the future. But that's been a huge wage theft victory across Westchester, kind of shutting down this unscrupulous contractor.
Good. What are some of the similarities between the 2 sites, and what are some of the differences between the 2 sites that you see?
So in both locations, we see new arrivals. We also see majority Latino populations and Spanish speakers, but it's really changing. Here in the Bronx, we honestly see more transitory folks, more new arrivals, more of a varied nature. So a lot of people from Senegal, Ghana have come recently, various populations, a huge Garifuna population from Honduras, where in Yonkers, traditionally for many years, it was the Mexican community who's really established there. People who have kids, who have families and have been there for decades. But we have seen a lot of new arrivals as well, coming through the New Arrivals program, and from Venezuela, Colombia, things like that, and some smaller groups of African communities or Chinese population.
Great. Thank you, Lucia. So Juan Pablo, tell us a little bit about your work in the Day Laborers Program. I know you're the Bronx organizer and supervisor. So what have you seen there? And
well, we never get bored. Listening to Lucia, it makes me think about a lot of things that we do over there. And basically what we do is bring hope and try to touch the community. We know that they can survive by themselves. They're strong enough to do that. But sometimes all of us need a little bit of help. I am also, I'm the coordinator of the program right now, but I was a jornalero, and I'm still a jornalero. They used to stand on the corners looking for jobs. That's how I met Catholic Charities. I started working as a volunteer, and then I got the training for free. You probably don't remember that, Beatriz, but that's how I met you for my graduation of my first OSHA training. The site safety training. You were there, and
oh, that's many years ago.
That was many years ago, and I was one of the happy recipients of that training, and then feel a whole community embracing me, because that's what we try to do in the day labor program. We try to build a community and to empower all the people using the strategy of the day laborers, because we look at the day laborer as a holistic person, and we try to do a holistic treatment of the person. So then we involve everybody in the community, and then we have programs all the way coming from the children to the women's programs to men's programs to site safety training, which is our bread and butter, and then we have other types of trainings too, like carpentry, electricity. What I do is look like I'm busy all day and make everybody else work at the work site. I have a great team of people that are in charge of case management and outreach with the community. Like Lucia was saying, it's always changing. It's always evolving, and we're constantly having to adapt. And we're receiving people from all parts of the world now. We used to deal only majorly with Latin American community, but now it's people from everywhere.
And Juan Pablo's being very humble because him and our other supervisor of Yonkers, Janet Hernandez, they are the heart of this program. They created this program. Without them, there wouldn't be a program. Anytime you go to a parada in the Bronx, Juan Pablo, Juan Pablo, Juan Pablo, or in Yonkers, Janet, Janet. So he's being incredibly humble.
But interesting to note, I do know that there was extra special work during COVID. Tell me about that and what was happening then.
Yeah, COVID, well, it was an interesting time for all of us and for everybody in the world, right? And it was a difficult times, but it was also refreshing to see how the actual community came out to help themselves. And I remember the first 2 or 3 weeks of COVID when the city was closed, I started visiting the paradas in my car, scared, not knowing what if I could get sick just by being out. But then I started visiting the paradas, and I saw that the men were still there. And when I asked them if they needed food or anything, they said, we need work. That's what people want. They wanted work. Even though they've been for 3 weeks without work, I could see that they needed the food, but what they wanted was work. That's one of the main things that the community really wants, is just to work and be part of this society, right? So then visiting the paradas, we started seeing that there was this need for not only for food to cook at home, but also to have warm food while they were there, just a little touch of humanity added to those meals that we could give. And we were fortunate enough to be able to partner with some local businesses, pizza places, taco places, some Mexican food, Chinese food, and especially pizza places, and a firm of lawyers that funded pizzas. So I would fill up my car to the brim with pizzas every morning, and then I would drive with, in that time it was Emmanuel, who's not with us anymore. He was working with me, and we would go in my car and go from site to site where the workers were and give out the pizza with masks and all kinds of things that were provided also by Catholic Charities. It's always funny for me to know that I work for Catholic Charities, even to this day, after years of working for Catholic Charities, because my family in California, my family here in New York, and me myself have always been served by Catholic Charities too.
Yeah. So I know that you've also become a citizen through our program. So
yes.
Tell me,
Yes.
tell me a bit about the process. How long did it take you? Because our first segment touched upon citizenship. So what else can you tell us about that?
Well, I'm incredibly lucky and really proud to have 2 citizenships. So now I have the citizenship from my country, Guatemala, my country of origin, but I'm really proud also to be a United States citizen. And that was also through the help of Catholic Charities. And that's what I meant also about when I think about me being able to receive a salary for doing the things I should be doing as a voluntary. right? I should be a volunteer doing this and receiving a pay for that, and at the same time receiving the services. So, to be honest, for me, it was, I went on wheels, receiving the help of Catholic Charities. I remember, I don't have the authorization to say the name of, well, because I didn't ask them, but this two great people that work with me from Catholic Charities, and I'm just going to say Mike. Mike helped me a lot, and he would just be so patient with me, so understanding with me, and it was just about giving my papers, and then it took like about 2 or 3 years to get my citizenship. I got it during COVID. So it was around the end of COVID that I remember going with my wife. I was so happy, putting my suit on, going over there. It's incredibly frightening, and it puts you on the spot, knowing that you're going to be asked questions that will make or break your life.
So I want to thank you. That's very touching and emotional. I want a special thank you to both Lucia, Juan Pablo, but also Bridget and Sebastian for sharing the great work that they do to provide services to the people who want to become U.S. citizens, and also who help our day laborers throughout our programs at Catholic Charities Community Services. Thank you so much. Catholic Charities provides help, creates hope to those in need year-round. Please consider getting involved by volunteering, donating, or contacting us if you need support. Thank you once again for watching.